What if I told you that most men over 50 have already lost a woman's interest without ever realizing she was deciding? Not because of something they said, not because they weren't attractive enough, and not because she sat down and made a deliberate choice. Because here's what nobody explains. Women have an invisible remote control, a quiet internal switch, and the moment something inside her presses it, the signal changes, the warmth shifts, the connection dims. And most men? They don't notice until she's already emotionally somewhere else entirely. Right now, there are women quietly withdrawing from men they genuinely liked. Not with arguments, not with dramatic exits, just pulling back, slowly, inch by inch, signal by signal. And the men who lose them don't understand what happened. But here's the thing. These signals are readable. Every single one of them. And once you know what to look for, you see them early, while there's still a window to respond. I'm Sophia. Welcome to the Female Cipher. And today, I'm going to give you that decoder. Here's what most men assume. That a woman loses interest suddenly. One moment she's warm and engaged, the next she seems distant. And so the man retraces his steps. What did I say? What did I do? Where exactly did things turn? But that's not actually how it works. A woman's interest doesn't disappear in a single moment. It fades gradually, across dozens of small experiences, quiet moments, and unspoken decisions, each one adding a little more weight to a scale you didn't know she was keeping. She sends signals along the way. She adjusts her behavior in very specific patterns, and each of those patterns, if you learn to recognize them, is actually a window. A moment where understanding still matters, where presence still has the power to shift something. The challenge is that most men were simply never taught to read this language, and what you can't see, you can't respond to. Here's something important. When a woman's interest begins to fade, she doesn't announce it. She doesn't sit you down and explain. She doesn't send a message that says, I'm pulling back and here's why. She adjusts. She becomes a little quieter, a little less available, a little more careful with what she shares. And when you ask how she is, she'll say, I'm fine, or maybe, just busy lately, or everything's good. Simple answers. Surface answers. Answers that close the door on any real conversation. But underneath those answers, something entirely different is happening. She's making a quiet assessment. And that assessment has been building, slowly, privately, for longer than you might think. What I want to give you today is the ability to read what's underneath. 7 specific shifts, 7 patterns that tell you clearly and without ambiguity what she's actually deciding. Because the men who learn to recognize these patterns early, they don't lose the connection without understanding why. They see it coming. They respond with calm awareness. And they either rebuild something real or they walk away with their dignity fully intact. The first signal. And it's the one most men completely overlook. In the early stages of genuine interest, a woman asks questions. She wants to know your opinions, your history, how you think about certain things. She's curious. She probes gently. She collects information because she's building a map of who you are. Questions. Real, curious questions are how she invests. But when that curiosity fades, the questions stop. She doesn't wonder anymore about your weekend. She doesn't ask what you think about something she's been considering. She listens, yes, but she's no longer trying to know you more deeply. And here's the mistake many men make. They fill that silence with more talking, more sharing, more explaining, more offering details she no longer asks for. That only accelerates the distance. What she's noticing, even if she couldn't name it consciously, is whether you're present enough to feel the shift. A man who senses the room has changed, who responds to that change with calm and a little quiet curiosity of his own, that man still holds her attention. The one who keeps talking into silence, unaware that anything has changed, he's already pressing play on the wrong channel. The second signal, and this one matters more than most men realize. Women, especially mature women, women who have been through enough to know their own worth, don't pursue endlessly. They don't chase. They don't send a second message if the first one received no real response. What they do is reach out, once genuinely, with warmth, and then they wait, quietly, and they notice what comes back to them. When a woman initiates, she's offering something. She's extending her energy in your direction. And if that energy is met, not perfectly, just genuinely, she extends it again. The connection builds. But if it isn't met, she withdraws it. Not dramatically, not with an announcement, she just stops reaching first. Here's what makes this signal so easy to miss. The absence of something feels like nothing. You don't notice she hasn't texted. You don't register that you were always the one responding, never the one she was reaching toward first. But she notices. She always notices. The man who recognizes this pattern and begins, naturally and without urgency, to move toward her, restores something. He tells her without a single word, "I see you. I'm paying attention." That quiet awareness is one of the most powerful things a mature man can offer. This one is almost invisible. And that's exactly what makes it significant. When a woman is genuinely connected, her messages carry warmth. She adds details nobody asked for. She colors a little outside the lines of what you said. Her words have texture. And then, without any argument, without any visible turning point, her responses become shorter. Yes, sounds good. Maybe. That works. She's still answering. She's still polite. But the warmth has been pulled back, like a tide retreating so slowly you don't notice until the beach is completely dry. Now, this doesn't mean the connection is over, not automatically, but it is the remote control clicking. It is a moment where something is being decided. And if you're not paying attention to the change in texture, you'll miss the window entirely. The response to this is not pressure. It's not more questions or more messages to fill the quiet. The response is a little presence and a little mystery. Pull back slightly yourself. Give her room to wonder. Become someone she's curious about again. That creates movement, and movement creates interest. Let me say something about the world we're actually living in. Dating after 50 today is not the same landscape it was 20 years ago. The signals are different. The expectations are different. The way women communicate, especially women who know their own value, has shifted considerably. Mature women today have much higher standards for how their time and attention are spent. They have built lives, careers, friendships, routines they love, mornings they've claimed entirely for themselves. They are not waiting to be chosen. They are choosing, which means that when a connection feels one-sided, when the effort is flowing only one direction, when she doesn't feel genuinely seen, she doesn't stay out of habit or obligation. She redirects, quietly, with complete self-possession. This isn't coldness, it's clarity. And the man who understands this, who meets her not with need or performance, but with his own grounded sense of himself, becomes interesting to her again. Because she's not looking for desperation dressed as attention. She's looking for a man who matches her. A man who has something of his own. A man whose presence adds to her life rather than asking something from it. This is what I call the loneliness paradox. And it may be the most important signal of all. Here's what happens when a woman begins to pull back her investment in a connection. She doesn't fall apart. She doesn't wait around hoping you'll notice. She does the exact opposite. She fills her world. She makes plans with friends she'd been meaning to see. She picks up the book she set aside. She takes the walk she'd been putting off. She invests her attention in things and people that return it warmly. And what you notice, if you're watching closely, is that she seems good. Genuinely, quietly good, without you at the center of that goodness. Here's the paradox. A woman who is thriving independently is on one level showing you something beautiful, but she's also showing you something that should make you pay attention. Because when a woman who genuinely liked you begins to find her fullness elsewhere, she was already making a quiet decision about where you fit. Now, the wrong response to this, and I see this pattern in mature men so often, is to suddenly become more present, more attentive, more intense, more eager to fill the space, calling more, suggesting more, sending messages that try to pull her back toward you. That doesn't read as care, it reads as anxiety. And anxiety, no matter how affectionate, pushes a woman deeper into the beautiful, self-contained world she's already building. The right response is stillness. It's having your own life that genuinely pulls you forward. Your own sense of purpose, your own mornings, your own quiet passions. A man with a full, unhurried life of his own, who still makes real space for her, is magnetic in a way that urgency never is. She doesn't want someone who needs her there to feel complete. She wants someone who actively chooses to have her there. And those two things, need and choice, feel completely different. She can tell them apart immediately. Let's talk about something most men never see coming, because this signal, this particular one, is almost entirely invisible. There's a specific form of disrespect that mature women respond to not with anger, not with confrontation, but with quiet, permanent distance. It's not dramatic. It arrives in small moments that seem insignificant at the time. The moment when you dismiss what she's saying without really hearing it. The moment when you assume she'll rearrange her plans around yours without asking. The moment when she shares something that genuinely matters to her and you offer a solution instead of simply being present. Each of these moments registers, quietly, deeply. And she won't call it out in the moment. She won't explain, won't correct, won't give you the chance to respond. She'll continue the conversation. She'll smile, and then, gently, privately, she'll take one small step back. Not an angry step, not a punishing one, just a step. And what you'll begin to notice, if you're watching, is that the ease in her manner has changed. She holds herself slightly more carefully around you. She's a little more guarded, a little less spontaneous. The lightness is still there, but it's protected now. That guardedness is a signal. It means she's protecting something. And what she's protecting is the part of herself she was almost ready to share with you. A man who catches this early, who pauses, who listens without defending, who acknowledges rather than explains, can still walk back through that door. The door stays open longer than most men realize, but it doesn't stay open indefinitely. And this brings us to the final signal, the most profound one. Once you understand this, really understand it, it changes how you read every interaction. Here's what I've come to believe after studying these dynamics carefully. Women don't actually hide what they need. They say it differently than men expect. They say it through behavior. Through the questions they ask and the ones they stop asking. Through what they mention twice. Through the way they go quiet at a certain moment. Through what they offer freely and what they carefully, deliberately hold back. The woman who says, "You don't have to do that," often means something underneath, but it would mean something real if you did it anyway. The woman who doesn't mention she's had a hard few days, but who is suddenly a little less warm, a little more distracted, is showing you something. She's showing you whether you'll notice without being told. The woman who says, casually, that she really values someone who can just listen, isn't making conversation. She's telling you what she needs, right now, in this moment. These are not games. They are not puzzles designed to confuse or exhaust you. They are a language, a quiet, precise, entirely consistent language. And it makes complete sense once you learn to hear it. Mature men who understand this language don't feel manipulated by it. They feel equipped. They walk into a conversation with their eyes open. They read what's actually being communicated, not only what's being said out loud. And that quality, that calm, unhurried attention, is one of the rarest things a woman encounters in a man. Because most men were never taught to look for it. But you are. Now. So let me bring this back to the remote control she's holding. She is not using it against you. She is not pressing buttons to be difficult or to test you out of cruelty or to create some impossible challenge. The remote control is simply her internal sense of self, her quiet, private awareness of whether this connection is moving her towards something real or slowly costing her something she can't afford to lose. Men who understand this, who read these 7 signals with calm attention rather than confusion or frustration, they don't lose the connection without knowing why. They see the shift, they respond with presence instead of pressure, and they offer her something rare, a man who is actually paying attention. The truth is that she was never hiding. She was speaking. The question, the only real question, is whether you were listening. I'm Sophia. If this gave you something useful, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe to the Female Cipher, and I'll see you in the next one.